Hi, and welcome to Coding Ultimate Guide. In this tutorial, we are going to learn for loop in Python. For loops are used when you have a block of code which you want to repeat a fixed number of times. The for loop is always used in the combination with an iterable object like a list or a range. The Python for statement iterated over the members of a sequence in order, executing the block of each time. So let us give an example. So I have a string hello world. So I can take an example with for loop. So here what I did. So always for loop the statement is for, just like this, for hello in sequence, then statement here for statement. Just like this. So that should be the for loop. It will like sequence should be here either a string or the range function or list, and the value should be in the that will be iterated through the sequence, and then you can pass the statement which you want to execute inside the for loops. So here for example, let me comment it out. Here x is my value, string is my sequence, and print x is my execution inside the for loop. So if I run this, it will print me the new lines after each character. So if I run this, it will print me hello world, and after first character there is a new line, that is e, and after the e there is a new line, which is l, and again l, and the print statement that will execute a new line inside the for loops. So if I do not want to execute in a new line, so I can print, let's say, this end statement. If I run this, it give me the output is hello world. An end statement that basically execute in a single line. So I can also print execute with a list. So let's say my list is collection, is my variable to hold multiple elements. Let's say that holds string numbers as well as, and also another. So I can do for y in collection into y. So if I print this, it will execute the three lines. The high will be first line, high will be second line, and D will be in third line. Because as I told you, that print statement inside the for loop that execute it, that create a new line of the sequence. So here my output here I 5 and D. If I want to in a single line, so I have to keep the end statement, that should be A. And if I want to give a space between each character, then I have to give a space here inside the end, inside the queue. So the next is that if I have a list of list, so for example, my variable name is list of list. So for example, one, two, three. Inside the list there is also four, five, six, another list seven, eight, and nine. So the first list, and inside the list there is another list. List is one, two, three, another list four, five, six, and another list seven, eight, nine. And I want to execute this program. So how can I do it? Let's say I have to first iterate through the for loops. Let's say for x in list of list. So I have to iterate it one more time because that is inside the list. So I have to say for y in x and then print y. So what it does, so inside the for loop there is another for loop. So this is called my nested loop. So I will discuss with the what is nested loop. So whenever I want to execute the list inside the list, so I have to use the nested loop. So if I print this, it will give me the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 into a output. So as you say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So as I told you that print statement inside the for loop that will create a new line. So if I do not want to create a new line, then I have to use n equal to n. It will print me in one line. If I will do the space, it will create a space between this. If I will say comma, it will comma between the numbers. Alright. So let's talk about the nested loop. So what is Python nested loops? So when you have a block of code, you want to run X number of times, then a block of code within the code which you want to run Y number of times, you use what is known as a nested loops, right? So in Python, there are heavily used whenever someone has a list of lists and iterable objects within the iterable objects. For example, whenever we have a nested list, so in this case we have to use nested loops. So for example, that is here my. Let's say for example, nested loop I'm using nested loops. So for x in range, and I already discussed with what is range function in Python in the last session. So if you don't know the range, what is range function, then go and watch that previous session, and I will also mention the this range function in the description as well as. So inside the range function, there should be a start, stop, and step. So stop should be mandatory, and start and step that is non-mandatory, but you can pass here. So in this case, I am going to use start and stop, and that number will be print stop minus one. That means 1 to 10, and I already discussed in the last session. And you can, and that by default, if you do not give a statement using the step, so that will by default will take one. So here is that one that is by default take. So if you want to give a step that is two, then the number the increment between 1 and 10, that will be two. So the output will be one, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So if I do not give an increment, so that will number print 1 to 10. So if I do the same for x in range between 1 to 10, between 1 to 11, and the number will be 1 to 10, then I will give a iteration I in range and 1 to 11 print x and y. If I print this, it will give me the output one. So just the number iteration between this number. And you can also use break statement and also continue statement. The break statement terminates the loop containing it. Control of the program push to the statement immediately after the body of the loops. So if the break statement is inside a nested loop or loop inside another loop, the break statement will terminate the inner loop. So for example, my another example is for value in string, if value equal to I, and I will say break. I will create a break statement. I will say print value, then I will print end. in this condition that I check if my value is I, then it will break. So in this condition, if my value is I, then before the I character, that will be the character will be print. So output will be HTL, and the print will be outside of the for loop. So also you can use the continue statement. The continue statement is used to skip the rest of the code inside a for loop or while loop, the current iteration only. The loop does not terminate but continues on with the next iterations. So I can use, let me copy it and paste it in another example. So I have to use a here continue statement. So that continue work will skip this I and print the rest of the word. So it will exclude the I and print the rest of the word, rest of the character. If you have done this, it will print the strng and the end set.